Imagine that. You're standing on the Great Wall of China. There are stones underfoot that are as old as many forgotten states. The past is behind us, and 1,000 years of the future lie ahead. But what if you could walk through time as easily as you could on those ancient steps? What if we see how the wall has been changing not for decades, but for whole epochs? From 2000 to 5100. From the world we know to the world we can barely imagine. This journey is not just through space. This is a journey through the fate of a symbol that will outlive civilizations. And today you will hear her story for 1,000 years ahead. In the early 2000s, the Great Wall of China stood as the whole world used to see it, majestic but vulnerable. The stones were corroded by time, the sites required restoration, and the endless waves of tourists left traces much more noticeable than the ancient dynasties. In 2000, she was not only a symbol of Chinese history, but also a symbol of how the past can be fragile in the face of modernity. Photos faded, rocks collapsed, and parts of the wall stood forgotten in the desert, far from tourist routes. Nevertheless, she lived and continued to tell her story to millions. By the year 2100, the world began to change. The climate has forced us to reconsider ways to preserve ancient sites. For the first time, the Great Wall received large-scale protection, transparent coatings that repeated the shape of the stone and created a barely noticeable barrier from winds, acid rain, and temperature surges. At night, soft lines of light lit up along the wall, not bright, but only emphasizing its outlines. Tourists no longer set foot in the most vulnerable areas. They were accompanied by guided drones, which showed hidden cracks, the internal structure of the stones, and historical data. The wall has become the educational space of the future. By the year 2200, materials had become smarter than humans. The restored masonry was no longer just made of stone. Self-healing structures were woven into it, reacting to damage. Frost, heat, and strong winds could no longer cause significant damage. The wall has acquired a third life. After the ancient era and the era of tourism, the era of technological renaissance has begun. Some areas have been completely renovated, but with the original shape preserved. Now she didn't just reflect the past, she became a bridge between the times. The year 2300 brought a new stage, a digital envelope around history. Holographic layers appeared above the wall, showing what it looked like in different centuries, which armies passed by, which dynasties fell, and which rose. Holograms didn't replace the wall, they enlivened it. It was a story that could be seen with one's own eyes without destroying the real object. At some points, tourists could roll back time by switching the levels of preservation and reconstruction. By the year 2400, the Great Wall had become the foundation of entire ecosystems. Drones monitored the balance of plants, drought-resistant species took root along the foot, and special materials integrated moisture into the soil. It became a green corridor that influenced the climate of the region. Where once there was only dust, groves appeared in which rare species of animals lived. The Great Wall has ceased to be just a monument. It has become a living part of nature. In the year 2500, the very energy of the world has changed. The wall turned into a giant accumulator of sunlight. The new panels were built in such a way that they could not be distinguished from the stone slabs of antiquity. At night, they gave a soft glow, emphasizing the contours of the towers. Thanks to this, the lighting was autonomous, eco-friendly, and fully integrated into the landscape. Travelers of that time said that at night the wall seemed like a sleeping dragon guarding the earth. The year 2600 brought threats that humanity did not foresee. Climate storms have intensified, deserts have expanded, and winds have become destructive. In order not to lose the World Heritage Site, engineers have created a protective system. Thin, almost invisible arcs of force encircling key areas. They dispersed strong gusts, absorbed wind energy, and redirected it. For the first time in its history, the Great Wall received active protection, an invisible guardian who surrounded it at night. The year 2700 marked the age of levitation technology. Platforms appeared above some vulnerable areas, designed to stabilize the collapsing fragments. They hovered in the air, holding the stones while maintaining their exact position. It was not a reconstruction, it was a fixation of the original, like a museum exhibit, but in real space. People said that the wall had become time-supported. In the year 3000, humanity was already living in the era of global metropolises. The remnants of the old landscapes were almost sunk into oblivion. In order to preserve the authentic context of the wall, historical zones were created around it, territories where nature and relief were maintained in a form as close as possible to the ancient state. At the same time, observation pods hovered above the wall, allowing you to see multi-kilometer sections in a matter of minutes. The man finally saw the greatness of the wall in a way he had never seen before, in its entirety, at a glance, as a continuous line stretching through the mountains. By 3300, the Great Wall had ceased to be a single object. It has become the axis of new cities, eco-friendly, quiet, built along its length. People wanted to live next to a symbol that had survived everything. At night, the wall glowed with soft veins of energy that pulsed in time with the power stations. It has become not only a story, but also a part of the infrastructure. The year 3600 made her alive. New materials created by bioengineers have transformed some areas into structures that respond to the environment. The stones breathed, regenerated, and changed their density. Translucent domes appeared on the towers, in which rare plant species lived, and artificial intelligence monitored every millimeter of the surface. By the year 4000, dozens of protective domes for key historical sites already existed.